in their books, they have combined hands to suppress and occupy the resources to make the people of these lands poor and suffer. The question is, at the end of the day, is not because in the world now, the research has grown, the academia has grown, the intellect has grown, the books have grown, the journals have grown, the information, access to information is unbelievable. And it's still in that situation, so we know whatever is happening. But sadly, the world is ruled by, everyone is ruled by their own so-called national interests. And therefore, when somebody is crying, and not really, very, very, very rarely, until someone's interest align with them, they carry on suffering under the hands of the powerful. So it's really very important that in the given situation, there will be, we hope, the humankind, there is this journey where, there have been incidents in the world where the universal conscience has risen to stop some atrocities to happen successfully. That we should continue to raise the voice for the voiceless people. We raise the voice for our survival until we get some sufficient critical mass of the people and critical pressure of the world to stop these atrocities. Else, what would happen? See, for example, these designs say how the China is expanding South China Sea, and it is not only jeopardizing the rights of those people who are around it, who have this shared resource, but also for the environment, also for the sustainability, and also for the peace. Let it work for the sustainability, let it work for the peace, let it work for the justice, let it work for the humanity, and we hope we will be successful. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lohana. It is very informative, and I didn't even think about changing the name of the sea. Yeah, recently the President Trump of the United States.
Shouldn't be South China Sea. Why?
Right.
Because what? Okay, it shouldn't. It basically shouldn't. Say somebody can say Philippines, say it's Philippines.
Yeah.
Cambodia can say it's Cambodia.
Right. Yeah.
The sea is where the water touches that ocean. Is the sea of that land.
That's a high sea.
There are international laws as well.
Right.
So it doesn't share resources, and even if you want to, you can divide it. Look, if China wants to, it touches China, Chinese part of China.
Yep.
But where it touches Philippines.
Right.
Where it touches Cambodia, it should be Cambodia.
Right.
Where it touches Malaysia, it should be Malaysia.
Yeah, I understand, but the problem is, what I think that navigation of the vessels, that's going to make a little trouble. So we have to make one name, but it should not be South China Sea. That's obviously, right?
Not necessarily, because what will happen, okay, I would have a discussion, I said a little bit of it, that is because they deliberately created this situation, so it becomes very, very difficult with these different, say for example, Asian countries, they can have an agreement that look this area,
Right.
and they would require one state of law, and they don't require. For example, European Union.
Right.
Right? There's Schengen visa. So you get visa from one and they would. So there are a lot of ways to resolve these things. But if someone doesn't want to resolve, they can create these issues.
Yeah, we have to say South Asia Sea or something. Yeah, whatever. Except for this China Sea of China or South China Sea. And also, you mentioned at the beginning about the changes, which is permanent things, right? And this one, yes, if we see a Mongolian empire from 200,000 to 1,500. And also that is part of China right now, and now they're struggling. So they invaded a lot of nations, but now it's upside down. So that's going to be happening, and that is a change that you mentioned, right? So we have to think, what's going to be the next changes, and we have to change the good way. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Lohana. And the next speaker would be Dr. Fazal Afridi. I give you the floor.
Thank you very much,
Yep.
Ashwin, for organizing Geneva Human Rights.
Thank you for coming. Yep.
Title is, I think, as you said, Silent Invasion of China,
Yeah.
and giving me an opportunity to speak along with this August
Yep.
panel. I would like to discuss China's use of economic power as a tool to colonize other nations, besides being the worst human rights violator at home,
Right.
like grave human rights violations of Uyghurs and others.
Yep.
Here, at this moment, I would like to turn your attention to a very troubling scenario developing in the region. The main actor of which is China. China is pursuing an ambitious economic and geopolitical strategy on regional and international level by subduing the regional countries and pushing for an alternative world order to replace the Western democratic, financial, and strategic order. At the heart of this strategy is the Belt and Road Initiative, launched in 2013 by President Xi Jinping. Termed as an infrastructure and development program, the BRI spans across Asia, Africa, and Europe, linking Chinese economy through roads, railways, ports, and digital networks. However, I see it as a tool for China's strategic dominance, economic and political colonization of developing countries, particularly in South Asian region. China seeks to open new markets for its industries and secure supply chains for its products and raw materials from Africa, Europe, South Asia, and Central Asia. The BRI infrastructure projects often include ports that serve both commercial and military purposes, like Gawada Port in Pakistan and Hambantota in Sri Lanka. In Gawada, you can see that there is an airport without passengers and without planes. How can you invest in such projects if you don't have any other intentions of dominating these countries and having strategic interest in the region? Through economic leverage and strategic dominance, China gains influence over political decisions in smaller nations like Pakistan and Afghanistan, ensuring alignment with Beijing interests. The BRI presents an alternative to Western-led financial institutions like IMF and World Bank. It fosters a China-led global order, reducing dependence on the US and European powers. China terms BRI as an economic project, but ironically, most of the countries have been trapped in debt diplomacy. Local industries struggle to compete against Chinese companies and their products, leading to job losses and economic inequality. Most of the countries like Pakistan and Sri Lanka have been indebted to the extent that they are unable to repay the loans, which result in economic and political slavery and colonization by China ceding control over strategic assets. Sri Lanka was forced to lease the Hambantota port to China for 99 years. providing it a strategic foothold in Indian Ocean. Pakistan has accumulated billions of dollars in debt due to CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, plunging it into long-term financial subjugation, which will ultimately result in China's control over Gwadar port in Balochistan, which is already there in Balochistan province. So countries like Pakistan, hugely indebted to China, will be influenced economically, politically, and strategically by China. The main reason for the failure of this project is non-transparency in secret deals and foreign investments. The promise of infrastructure and economic growth has turned into long-term dependency and loss of sovereignty for countries like Pakistan. Pakistan Army and its political elite have sold Pakistan to China for their petty personal interests. It is really alarming that the resources of Pashtuns and Balochs have been sold in advance to China by Pakistan. Pakistani Punjabi generals have pocketed billions of dollars from CPEC projects, but the ordinary people are suffering and living in miserable conditions as there is no clean water, no health facilities, no schools, and no industries for them to be employed. It's high time for Pashtuns and Baloch to devise a joint strategy to fight both Pakistan and China's hegemony and colonization. We do not accept the debts accumulated by Pakistan, as these debts have not been used for the benefits of our people. Only Punjab has profited from these investments, and Punjab should be responsible to repay these debts. CPEC has brought misery and war to our land. Pakistan Army is killing, forcibly disappearing, and torturing those Pashtuns and Baloch who raise their voice for their rights against projects like CPEC, which are not meant for their welfare and development. We think that Sino-Pak collaboration is meant to exploit our resources, and we should stand against it with one voice. Balochs have gone a step ahead of Pashtuns. We need to support our Baloch brothers at this critical moment and provide them with all moral and political support at local and international level. I think Pakistan and China will go to all extent to protect their economic, political, and strategic interests in the region, and there is a strong possibility of more brutality and even genocide of Pashtuns and Balochs. China and Pakistan are not interested in the people of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They are only interested in our land and resources. To keep control over land and resources, Pakistan Army has been involved in gross human rights violations, including enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, arbitrary detentions, and torture of Balochs and Pashtuns. These violations and abuses will further increase in case Pakistan will lose control in these areas and can go to any extent in desperation. To avoid such grave scenario, we need to be united. Pashtun Baloch unity has never been so paramount in history as now. It is the question of life and death for us. Our future generations will never forgive us if we fail at this important juncture. We demand a commission under the UN to investigate the human rights violations, war crimes, and crimes against humanity committed by Pakistan Army with the support of China in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We expect from international community, particularly countries like Japan and USA, to save us from this new imperialism and colonization by China. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akredi. For example, China is now exporting not only their bad behavior, but they're exporting technique of the organ transplant to the other nations, or they are just importing the organs. And there are so many people missing in surrounding country, even from the Myanmar or in other areas. So kids are missing, and their organs are harvested and then transferred to China. That's going to be making a lot of money. And also, for these, like Dr. Afridi said, a airport that is established in that region, but they are not using. But for example, they're going to use it for the future, right?
Yes.
For military purposes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but Pakistan is paying already the debt, the interest on that debt, and it cannot even pay the interest on that debt.
Oh.
So that is, you know.
So that's going to be bankrupt, right?
It is already bankrupt.
Oh, probably.
It's already-
So this army regime will not make any industry or will not make any business. So they're just trying to sell the natural resources, minerals, but actually that is taken by China. Mostly it's free of charge, right?
Everything is taken by China, and the more important thing is that the workers who are working on CPEC,
Yeah.
they are Chinese.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The products they are using, they are coming from China. So there is no, profit for Pakistan.
Local people, yeah.
And they have to repay the debt now.
Yeah.
And from that investment, they are earning nothing.
It's like a youngster financing.
So that's catastrophe.
Sorry.
So only I think the journalists have got
Yeah.
benefits from
I understand.
such products because they are not transparent.
Mhm.
They are not even. Last time the Prime Minister Imran Khan asked the journalists to give us what the deal you have with the Chinese.
Right.
They refused.
Phew.
So how can you trust such products?
Mhm.
And I think in the near future, I think China will demand, the complete control. Even they have,
Yep.
we have reports that there are Chinese troops. I think the Lord will confirm it.
Yes, that's right.
And,
But
even the local cannot enter those areas.
Yeah,
So it's already,
but for Chinese regime, they don't need any human on the ground. That's what they need is only the land, right?
Yes.
So that's going to be what we know what is going to happen in the future, right? Wow. And also, is there anybody who knows about the Mehlam Baloch who was arrested yesterday or so?
Mahran Baloch.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have reports that she is released today.
Released today?
No, they didn't release it. They even did not allowing her family to see her and meet her, something like that.
Oh.
And today they arrested some other activists like Dr. Samsul
Yes,
from Karachi and Wahab, Bilal Wahab. Something.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know the update, so thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Dr. Afridi. You're very informative information. Thank you very much. And the next speaker would be, who's going to be next? Lizwana Ilham, a president of the Uyghur Association of Switzerland. Thank you very much for joining us today. And she came all the way from Zurich to Geneva today, and she has to leave to burn tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Tonight. So thank you very much for you taking time, and close yours.
Thank you very much for organizing everything
You're welcome.
and inviting me.
Yep.
So, imagine waking up one morning to find your city transformed. Cameras on every corner, checkpoints blocking streets you once walked freely, your language banned, your children taken away, and your family members disappeared without explanation. This is not the opening scene from dystopian novel. This is reality for millions of Uyghurs right now. As we sit here today, surrounded by the comfort and security of Geneva, a city that symbolizes peace, diplomacy, and human rights, our thoughts must turn to the urgent flight of Uyghurs who have been stripped of every basic freedom and dignity we take for granted. We gather today not simply to exchange ideas or diplomatic niceties, but because silence in the face of injustice is complicity, because somewhere behind barbed wire fences, guarded by watchtowers, millions of innocent people wait desperately for the world to hear their voices. Today, We must become that voice. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rizwana Ilham, and I'm the president of Uyghur Association of Switzerland. Today, I'm here not just as an advocate, but as someone whose own life, whose family, and whose people have been directly impacted by the crisis we are about to discuss. My goal today is simple: to share with you the truth that urgently demands our attention, action, and compassion. Each year, on July 28, Uyghurs around the world pause to remember the victims of Yarkent massacre, which is not only massacre like we have every 2 or 3 months a Remembrance Day of one massacre. One of the darkest moments in our recent history. Yet even as we honor the past, we face the painful reality that massacre was not an isolated event. Today, the same patterns of oppression and violence persist, reminding us that for Uyghurs, the past is never truly past. It lives on tragically in our present. Since 2017, China has escalated the arbitrary detention of Uyghurs and other Turkic ethnic groups, forcibly imprisoning between 1.8 to 3 million innocent people in a vast network of internment camps. Men and women, professors, doctors, writers, and ordinary citizens disappear overnight, held indefinitely without charge or legal representation. These are no more vocational training centers, as the Chinese government claims. The Xinjiang papers, the China cables, the Karakash list, along with the recent documents released by Dr. Adrian Zenz, provide undeniable evidence of China's intent to erase Uyghur identity. Inside these camps, detainees endure physical and psychological torture, forced sterilization, systematic sexual violence, and even death. One example is the mother of Dolkun Isa, president of the former World Uyghur Congress, tragically died in one of these camps, her fate painfully symbolizing countless untold stories. But the terror doesn't stop at the camps. For Uyghurs living outside, life has become an open-air prison. Religious practices are harshly criminalized, ancient mosques demolished. Uyghurs face intense religious persecution under the law cynically labeled as regulations on religious affairs and counter-terrorism laws. Uyghur language banned from schools. Cultural sites that once stood proudly for centuries have been systematically destroyed, erasing history and heritage alike. Most heartbreaking is the forced separation of Uyghur families. Countless Uyghur children grow up in orphanages, stripped of their parents, language, and culture. Parents, if not imprisoned, are shipped off into forced labor factories, producing goods consumed globally. Everything we buy from AliExpress, Shine, we have in the shops from Zara, IKEA, Kotex, that's all the forced labor results. As we sit comfortably here today, garments sewn by enslaved Uyghur hands could be hanging in stores across Europe and Switzerland, illustrating the troubling proximity of complicity. Every Uyghur faces constant surveillance. Facial recognition cameras track their movements, iris scans, fingerprints, DNA samples are forcibly taken. Since Chen Huangguo took office, Xinjiang has become one of the most surveilled places on earth, where privacy no longer exists and every home is under suspicion. Family pairing programs place Chinese cadres inside Uyghur homes, invading even the most intimate spaces of family life. Thousands of Uyghur children have been forcibly separated from their families. Parents, meanwhile, like I said, in the labor factories under conditions that can only be described as modern slavery. In February of this year, the world witnessed the disturbing reminder of Uyghurs' plight beyond China borders, when over 40 Uyghur refugees were forcibly returned to China by Thailand despite international pleas. These individuals now face unimaginable consequences, imprisonment, torture, and even death. Their forced return not only violates international law, it underscores the urgency for global solidarity and protection for Uyghur refugees and asylum seekers. As we meet today in Geneva, we must reflect on our responsibilities. Switzerland has maintained a strong and beneficial relationship with China, notably through our free trade agreement signed in 2014. Yet prosperity must never overshadow principle. As discussions continue to modernize this agreement, we must ensure that our economic interests do not silence our moral voices. Switzerland has historically championed human rights, diplomacy, and neutrality. But neutrality in the face of genocide is complicity. Switzerland's China strategy must unequivocally affirm human rights as non-negotiable foundation of all future cooperation. If we fail to do so, we risk undermining our very identity as a nation committed to justice. But the good news is, as there is one small tiny good news, positive change is not only possible, it's already happening. Volkswagen recently decided to close its controversial factory in Xinjiang. Responding directly to global human rights concerns, Volkswagen's decision demonstrates courage, accountability, and corporate integrity. It's clear signal to other companies and nations. Profits should never come at the expense of human dignity. We must take heart from such examples, for they prove that principled action can and does to lead to real change. Friends, this is our moment to decide who we are. Will history remember us as passive observers or as courageous advocates who stood up when it mattered most? Today, the Uyghur people do not ask for sympathy alone, they ask for action. We must demand accountability from China. We must strengthen protection for refugees fleeing persecution. We must ensure our trade agreements uphold basic human dignity. And above all, we must speak loudly and clearly to those trapped in silence, sending the message, you are not alone. Your suffering is not forgotten. As we leave today's summit, let us commit ourselves to being a voice for voiceless, defenders of dignity and champions of human rights, not just for the Uyghurs, but for our shared humanity. Because if we do not act now, when? If not us, then who? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Each and every word that you said is totally agreeable. And one thing that I don't understand is that, you said at the end of the speech, that you said, what's going to be the next? Who's going to be the next, right? So the country like Japan or Taiwan or other nations who are not really victimized. Of course, and we are partly victimized, but not like Uyghurs or Tibetans and South Mongolians. We should stand much stronger to support these people. Otherwise, we're going to be the next. This is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So we have to be actively involved. I've been involving this over 7-8 years, but things are a little bit changing, and Uyghurs lobbies are very strong in the United States, and now people are more aware of the issue. But still, nothing is going on. Nothing changed in China. So this is what I'm very much frustrated in these days. And also at this time, I also talk about Uyghurs' separation of the kids and parents. This is really insane tactics, I can say, because they can control the emotion of their parents to listen to what the CCP have to say, and blindly. Otherwise, they cannot see their own children. This is totally a crime of the humanity. And one thing that I want to ask you is that there are many so-called Chinese NGOs coming into Human Rights Council in these days, and also some of them our mayor of the Xinjiang came and saying that we are in a very modern infrastructure, enjoying freedoms. So how do you think about that? And
Well,
these people.
Obviously, it's fake. The thing is, recent things is like before the last voting for the World Congress, like China started open their borders. Like since last January, Swiss people can go to China without visa for 15 days.
Okay.
So I think that is like literally wrong because of the economical profits. Really, like a country like Switzerland with human rights shouldn't do that, right?
Right.
Like we don't have contact trade business with North Korea, for example, and China is the same. But okay, I'm getting away. So because of the profits and everything, the world believes what China says, and even if they don't believe, they just listen to China because they're afraid. It's like
Right.
EU. All the Pakistan countries, because they have to pay money for China, African countries, Nigeria, South American countries, Balkan countries, even Turkey, even Uzbekistan, when we think they are our brothers and sisters, no one helps. So those people, like mayor of this Turkestan comes, everything, they are afraid. Like if they would say anything wrong, their families, their friends, anyone they even ever can contact will get imprisoned and jailed. I have example, if I can say to it. Like last year, I visited in East Turkey my friends with my family. So there was the mother, my mom's friend, who they grew up with since they were like 5 years old. Like they're friends for 50 years, like it's over childhood friendship, and they didn't see each other for 20 years. So they were very happy to meet. But when we arrived in Istanbul to meet this woman with her husband, she wouldn't meet me because she said, "I'm sorry." She met my mom, but behind the home, she said, "I'm not going to go out." Because she was tourist, she said, "I heard your daughter, she's a political activist, and if I'm going to meet with her, I'm dead." And she said, like, they had to, I don't know how to say it in English, they had to give 2 of their friends as guarantee, like, if they don't come back, these 2 friends get jailed, prison. So you cannot just stay there. So they came as tourists with a lot of money to Istanbul, and they couldn't not meet. And this year I had the same, because the Uyghurs can come out now. So people think, everything is fine, borders are open, China is democratic again, everything is good. But it's not. And my huge problem is a lot of Uyghurs who live there are brainwashed and they're afraid to say anything. They believe this. They're threatened. Like it's like for China, if I hear all these stories now, it's like a child's play for them, They're just sitting and gaming and looking what we do while we're dying and they're profiting. My heart. So those people, mayors or other people, NGOs, everything, shame on you, I just say.
Thank you very much.
No dignity.
Well, it's not what we have discussed. I really hope that it will end soon by power of the rational people on the earth. But it seems that there are some people who are benefiting from that. And on the same time, recently, this is a very shameful story, but the Japanese government and Minister of Foreign Affairs, he announced that they want to give a multiple visa for 10 years for Chinese people. And we are strongly opposing to this. And maybe that's going to be dropped soon, but they openly say that we're going to give multiple visa for Chinese people. Don't do it, right? Yeah. So we are very much, sad about these things, that politicians are not aware of these things. So we are now very much working to have more awareness of the Congress people to know what is really happening on the ground. Thank you very much. And next speaker will be the Executive President of the International Forum for Secular Advocacy, Mr. Joseph. Rahman, sorry. Yeah.
Why is my name so sweet now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I give you the floor to you.
Thank you, my very close friend, Mr. Suchini Fujiko. He is since long time we have meet together on the United Nations High Commission of Human Rights.
Yeah.
He is a human rights defender from Japan, and I am very pleased to honored to hear, because Japan is our very developed, very biggest development country, development partner in Bangladesh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel honored to, when we're talking regarding the Japan Human Rights Summit. Today is a Human Rights Summit the organized, and I am addressing our moderator and the organizer, Mr. Suchini Fujiko, and at the same time in the podium, my very deeply respected friend, Mr. Lakku Luhana, who is the friend of also the Sharia Kobir, and I follow him long time for the human rights in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in all of the across the South Asia. And the same Mr. Fazlur Rahman Afridi, who on this stage, he is also very close friend for the human rights ground. He is the human rights defender from Paris, and he raising voice in Pakistan, victims, India, Bangladesh, all of the victims he are the supporter. And my another friend, first time I meet him, Mrs. Rizwana Itham from Uyghur Congress. I deeply respect her, and my right side friend, Mr. Joseph. Joseph also very long time friends for humans. Thank you so much for everybody, and I go to deeply address my Bangladeshi civil society friends, human rights defender, and others, ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests. I would like to say that some influence, some mafia countries, some biggest power country who are every South Asian country, in Middle East, in others, minorities who are make the brutal torturing, to give the support, their finance to make brutal torturing for all of the world, who are victims they have had the unhumanitarian life. Like countries like USA, China, and Russia influencing other countries' matters. I say thanks to Mr. President Donald Trump in America decided to no more, but my country bleeding due to other influences. China still put the nose in different countries such as Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and other African countries, and made up many challenges for local indigenous people in different countries. Here I quote especially for the Baluch people, land in Balochistan, where China involvement's name of so-called development became challenges by the local Baluch. And thus also the China and USA also very influences in our Bangladesh at right now. I am telling some recent story. After my 5th of August, Bangladesh Prime Minister Honorable Sheikh Hasina was forced in flee to the country. Meanwhile, Islamists and jihadist student protesters under Yunus leadership have established an alternative government in the country. All charges against Mufti Jasimuddin Rahmani, the chief of the Al-Qaeda affiliated Ansarullah Bangla team, ABI, along the dozens of imprisoned Islamists and jihadists has been released. While the perpetrators of these gruesome crimes enjoy immunity, secular forces in Bangladesh, writer, journalists, freedom fighter, political activities, and most innocent peoples are now inside the prison. Chaos in Bangladesh opens door to Islamic extremism. Militants are gaining strength after the tumultuous changes in government. creating security concerns across in South Asia. However, the current Bangladesh is going through a terrible transitional period. I want to discuss something in what's the July-August revolution conspiracy, what's called by the HCSR. Recently, the UN Human Rights Commission has released a report on so-called monsoon revolution on July-August, which is completely biased and one-sided because the basic principle of justice is to hear the statements of both sides, analyze the evidence impartially and reach a fair conclusion. But in this investigation, even that minimum standard was not met. Legal explanation, violation of the principles of justice, violation of the principles of natural justice in the international law, especially under the principle of odi alternum patem, let the other side of the heart of the well. It is mandatory to hear the statements of the accused party. Laws and characters where the principle is ancient. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, Article 10. Everyone is entitled in full equality to fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal. In the determination of these rights of obligations and of any criminal charges against him. International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, 1966, Article 14(1). All persons shall be equal before the courts and tribunals. In the determination of any criminal charges against him or of these rights and obligations in suit a law, everyone shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent and impartial tribunal established by law. So, this investigation by the UN completely depended on the information of the pro-Jamaat Shibiru government. This raises serious questions about the impartiality and creates a conflict interest which is against the principles of international investigation. The UN is acting as a former of the Yunus government here, which is clearly politically motivated. They even submitted the report Yunus before the publishing it so that he could be revised and changes it, that also the mentioned in the report. So on this report of the YCSR on 12th of February, we are Bangladeshi civil society, Bangladeshi human rights defender, and all of the international human rights defender, we are protest and we are against to rejoinder against this report. This report is completely biased, and I say to the United Nations and international community, our civil society of Bangladesh, we argue this report will be reinvestigation again. And at the same time, our friend of Japan, Mr. Shuchiki, I want to say you, because Japan is a very biggest development partner of the country in Bangladesh. JICA, long times in Bangladesh, since 30 years, have been investment billion of the US dollar. So Japan can take the part of this human rights situation and brutal torturing against the Yunus regime. Japan can stop the development work and to stop they make the sanction, economic sanction of the Bangladesh at right now. So it will be get a good opportunity to our civil society, our victims, abuse, women and children, and our minorities, writer, journalists, they can get their justice from internationally world. Thank you so much for giving opportunity and to hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lama. It's very informative, and also I really feel that Japan need to work a little bit harder, but the current Japanese government is going to the other side of the aisle. So we should give more awareness to the Japanese Congress, because they are just waiting to get information, but they are not trying to get information by themselves. So only information that provided is from one-sided, and the coin always has two sides. So we should see both sides of the coins. And as you said, United Nations is the politically motivated and manipulated by certain party. And I've been coming here, visiting here over 10 years, and I definitely see a lot of occasions which we cannot understand why they're doing it. So I really understand the struggle that you're facing and your people are facing, and hoping that, as you mentioned, JICA has been a good partner of Bangladesh, and they are only trustable people that are working for overseas development. So I hope that they're going to work further, but they are trying to make the division internally so that the both party can be weakened. Then somebody else will take that legion. So this is how they're doing. So I really hope that we can work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. But because I want to say that because UNHCR, the fact-finding team, they are motivated by the Dr. Yunus, because the Dr. Yunus was a Nobel laureate. But I salute when he was the Nobel laureate for the microeconomy, but he was not the Nobel laureate for peace. He was not the Nobel laureate by the confirmation of the civil rights of the Bangladesh peoples. So Nobel laureate is not the only way to get everything to in favor.
That's true.
So that's my question.
Yeah, that is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I butchered his organization's name, so I have to repeat it again. Sorry. Executive President of the International Forum for Secular Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, the next speaker will be President of the Center for Human Rights and Peace Advocacy, Mr. Chongji Joseph. Am I correct?
Yeah, that name sounds like Japanese.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I give the floor to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey Shun.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I find it very difficult when intelligent people have spoken before me. And most of the time, I feel that they are look into my thoughts, look into my talking points, and they undercut me, and it's like I have nothing to say. So it's very dangerous when you allow intelligent people to speak.
Yes, it is true. It is true.
That said, we are talking about the expansionist policy of China, which to me looks much more like not just neo-colonialism, but colonialism in itself, using different strategies. And so we know that after the First and the Second World War, colonialism was abolished, completely abolished. I mean, in its entirety. That is to say that no country should come in to colonize either part or the whole region. But when we look at what Chinese is doing, we cannot help but say that this is real colonialism through different strategies. And of course, the different strategies are just similar to what colonial powers had used before. Because the colonial power had said they were coming with their civilization, they're coming with development, and so on and so forth. Now China, as Freddy said, wants another new world order, which is going to be pitched on the civilization of China. And that civilization is passing through development projects. That is why I'm saying this is real, the expansionist policy is real colonialism.
Yeah.
Now we know that the Charter of the United Nations enunciates in its Article 55 some principles and key doctrinal issues that the world should look up to, which relates to human rights, protection and promotion, human rights, dignity, and so on. And the Charter states that in situation that member state of the United Nations should be able to implement this article so that its citizens can benefit, its citizens and other people can benefit from these doctrines and principles of human rights. And it goes further in its Article 56 to say, should a country not be able to do that by its own because of economic challenges, it can do that in collaboration and cooperation with other states. Now we see what China is using. It's using carefully this article of collaboration and cooperation, which of course is accepted by law to collaborate and cooperate. But what happens is the content of this collaboration. This is where the difference starts coming in. Now, through this collaboration and cooperation, we know that China has entered a collaborative project with Pakistan called the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Now, if you look at how it is managed and implemented, then you would tend to believe, alongside Johnson Joseph, that this is not the way the United Nations had stipulated. For one thing, China, when they take a project, sometimes I ask myself, who are those who negotiate the protocol agreement? You cannot negotiate the protocol agreement that is in disfavor of the people. In what way? That beginning with who implements this project, the project holder is the China that is coming in. They say, okay, we're giving you money, you borrow money, but we execute the project. And when you borrow money, you lend money, and you execute the project, you don't allow a citizen of that nation to be recruited in any meaningful position. This cannot be any other thing other than colonialism. Behaving exactly as colonial master had behaved. And so in this, the CPEC project, we realized that the states or the provinces around this project, which are Balochistan, Sindh, the Pakistan-controlled Kashmir, and Pashtun, they are all, none of them occupy an important position in the execution of this project. None. And the little they can give, they will take them as guards. People who can be running around doing menial jobs, and the important jobs are done by the Chinese. So the Chinese bring in their manpower, their labor, and they execute the project and leave the place with nothing. Empty projects. And most of the time, the projects are failing projects. Like we have heard, that the CPEC project, which involves so many, what was supposed to be the biggest in the South Asia, is not working. Since 2013 that it was signed up to now, it's not working. I would say that it's not working in favor of the people, because any project that is not people-oriented is not a project. It's not meaningful.
Right.
So therefore, with this, we realize that China has come to this area to perpetuate the already degrading human rights situation. In what way? First, environmentally, the project is causing a lot of havoc. And it is causing this havoc because China violated one of the basic principles of human rights, which is the principle of participation. The principle of participation simply means that if there is anything, be it at the level of the project, all the parties are supposed to come together to determine how best the project can be implemented. It also means that the people have the right to participate even in the governance of their community. And that governance of their community, projects cannot be left out. China has therefore come to perpetuate the already wanting human rights situation in this area. We also realize that with this project, you see, they are building a dam. They are building a dam. And by building that dam, they have come to block waterways, especially the Indus River. The Indus River. Yes, the
Indus River. Indus.
Indus River. They have blocked it, and the people who have been benefiting from the river are now wanting, in the name of constructing a dam, for whose benefit, if it is not for the benefit of China. Because a project, a people-oriented project, when the people start crying, we need to stop and listen. We need to invite them for discussion.
Yeah.
We need to show them that this is not what China is doing. When these people are crying, China rather requests its partner in crime, I would say partner in crime, to collaborate with it to carry out arbitrary arrests, long and illegal detention. This is where the human rights situation becomes deeper and degenerates. We also know that through this, because the people want the rights to be respected, to face extrajudiciary and summary execution. Of course, somebody just said it in passing, perpetual enforced disappearances. And those who want to spearhead are first of all targeted and eliminated. And so I want to say that the expansionist policy of China is not helping any part of the world, any state to which this expansion is coming. It is intended to make China become the next superpower. I don't know whether people see this, but I see it. In Africa, it is similar. When they come, they don't even pay rent so that people should benefit from their houses, they have built. They don't pay rent. They simply go and build a tent somewhere. And then you all come with your people, and the people are there. They execute the project, staying there. When they live with nothing. They keep you with nothing. They live like that. So there is nothing worse than this kind of partnership, kind of collaborative protocol that China tricks the world, or I would say tricks the world, because from the time I started coming to the UN, I started hearing about the China-Pakistan economic corridor. NGOs, civil society organizations that have been sitting here at the UN. And it appears China is using magic to blur the people's ear. That we should not listen. But I wouldn't say we should give up. I would say, since thieves don't like noise, we should continue to make the noise. Since thieves don't like light, we should continue to bring light. We should be able to investigate. We should be able to do monitoring and bring in undisputed data and facts about what is happening, so that the world can be able to take the decision. This makes me to come to my dear friend who talks about bias report. Not being a lawyer to the UN, sometimes I just blame us, civil society,
Yeah, that's right.
because we are not doing our job. I've participated in so many of this review. Sometimes the person comes and sends back the report. Do input if you can. We just read, we see. We don't read the inputs. If you are a judge and such a thing comes before you, and you don't see a counter, what do? You take the decision on what you say. This is therefore just to encourage us. We should be smart enough to understand at what point, what period a country is being reviewed. What period or when a special rapporteur is visiting a country, so that we can rally up people to give information. When they go, they take what they see. Therefore, the task is more of our own than the report. Do we have information that can counter what government gives them? Because they will always use, government is always ready to give its report. And the report is always a clean report. And when they don't see, how do you call it, a shadow, a parallel report, they are forced to take decision on what they see before them. I would want to say again that the environmental degradation of this CPEC is horrible. Really, really horrible. Sorry?
No.
It is terribly horrible to the effect that people lack drinking water. Water that is global goods has become global bad in this region. And when people cannot use water, what else? You can think of all the related waterborne diseases that they are suffering from. You can think of even the hygienic condition they are living in.
Right.
And so, to me, the expansionist policy of China is worse than the colonial policy, because at least we brought in some good water, good, so many other things to blindfold the colonies with. But this is not what China is doing. China is, I would say, China is very brutal in the way it executes collaboration and cooperation. And for this reason, it is time civil society, NGOs, especially those of us who are working in close collaboration with the United Nations. In fact, they wake us, they want to get what we are saying. It is time, therefore, that we develop strategy to be able to investigate what they call in human rights, monitoring the situation, getting the facts, so that we can at every moment prepare shadow report. Shadow report is parallel reports to all state reports and to all the instruments that many of our states have signed and ratified. We don't do our work. I want to say, Mr. Shun, thank you for bringing us here.
Thank you very much.
So that we can realize that we are not doing our job. And so we should start doing our job. Thank you.
Well, there are so many contents, and now my brain is boiling. However, one thing that I wanted to point out is that, in Japan, even in Japan, the corporation or Chinese citizen in Japan, they are practicing the upstream of the water, means in a mountain, and those mountains are sold at a very cheap price, and the owners are getting aged, so they don't want to keep it. And actually, it's very cheap, but Japan is one of the 9 countries where all the tap waters in the country can be drinkable water. Means, if you get the water from the water tap, then you can drink without any trouble. And only 9 countries in the world. According to the WHO, that's going to be a 12, their standard, 12 or 15 countries, but Japanese standard is nine countries. So they are trying to get, and they said on 2015, they're going to face a shortage of the water. As you know, their water river stream are very much contaminated by so many chemicals and so on. And even there is a disease of the pig. They just, dump the pig into the river. This is how China has been doing. So they are now, sneaking around and they're trying to get the water sources. So we have to prevent these kind of things. This is what happened in Guadal. Just they're trying to kill the people silently without giving the water. So with that water, as Joseph said, it's a hygiene problem, right? So we should see what's closer to preventing things. And also one thing that I now remind that even the Quran or even the Bible, Chinese CCP can change the contents, right? You know that? Even the Quran has been written. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Thank you, and we're going to see you later. See you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. All right. The last speaker will be Mr. Hala. He's a very new face, and this is first time, second time you came here. Second time visiting here, and he's now gradually learning how system is working here in Geneva. One day he came to me and saying that he want to study the human rights issues, and now gradually he's picking up. So Mr. Hala, President of the Global Alliance for Anti-Discrimination from Japan. I give the floor to you.
Thank you for this opportunity. And let me share the way of the Chinese Communist Party. They are always cheating in every way. Let me share the situation in Japan. Japan is under invasion by Chinese Communist Party. And they are very cheating way. The invasion of Japan in coordination with anti-Japan forces. The Chinese Communist Party is collaborating with forces that harm Japan, such as North Korean regime, domestic anti-establishment groups, and leftist factions to carry out the following invasions of Japan. First, invasion through politicians, increasing the number of national and local politicians who act in favor of the Chinese Communist Party. In particular, forming factions that obstruct military build-up under the pretext of promoting peace. As you all know, the military direct control by the Chinese Communist Party continues to strengthen, and it is highly likely that it will possess the world's strongest naval power in the near future, with shipbuilding capabilities that do not allow other countries to catch up, remaining a dangerous presence. Furthermore, the current Prime Minister of Japan acts in accordance with the intentions of the Chinese Communist Party, also obstructing political exchanges with Taiwan, which is a military community of fleet together with Japan. And next, invasion through legislation. The aforementioned forces that harm Japan utilize several NGOs at the United Nations, claiming to represent the opinions of the general public in Japan, to make assertions that harm Japan. Based on this, recommendations are made from the United Nations to the Japanese government, and laws are created that weaken Japan, using these recommendations as a basis. Next, regional and social division operations, conducting various operations to divide Japan, such as claiming that the people of important regions for the invasion of Japan are indigenous peoples with different roots. In particular, the region of Okinawa, where US military forces are stationed, is targeted for a long time. Next, anti-Japan indoctrination of Chinese citizens. In indoctrinating Chinese citizens to hate and dominate Japanese people, sending them in large numbers to Japan. Next, military invasion, attempting to establish effective control over Japanese territory through personnel disguised as civilians, such as fishermen and maritime security organizations that act in concert with the military, directly controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, while the military repeatedly intrudes into Japanese territory. Next, invasions through media and social media. Media outlets that support politicians aligned with the Chinese Communist Party have been established, and control over social media is also beginning to take shape. The Chinese Communist Party continues its invasion very cunningly from all directions. Let's do our best in a realistic way. And please keep in touch to share information about Chinese Communist Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As Japan is a sovereign nation, but still Japan has been partly invaded by China. And Chinese, they don't like the American military forces presence in Okinawa. So they are trying to make a division within the Japanese people in Okinawa. And also some of them are trying to make them independent by using a false narrative of the historical issue. So, and also they wanted to return to Japan after United States took for 6.5 years control over Okinawa. And they had a referendum, and the majority of the Japanese wanted to go back to Japan, where they came from. And finally, we still have little time, so I want to point out some issues that we have between China and Japan. First of all, we have a Senkaku Island dispute, which is a chain of islands, actually mainly 3 islands. Oh, yes, you know, of course, yes. So we have certain dispute of the island, 3 islands near Taiwan. And after 1970, where the oil deposit, huge oil deposit, was reported by the United Nations and the Japanese scholars and the South Korean scholar, Taiwanese scholar, all of a sudden China started claiming the territory of these islands. This is one of the, the territory issues that we have. Also, the next one is a historical issue. They are using historical issues such as Nanking massacre. They have made a lot of books which is about Nanking massacre, which hasn't taken place because at that time, when suppose they are saying that the massacre has been taken place, there are over 60 companies, foreign medias, Western medias, was in Nanjing, and this Nanjing area is with the whole area is covered by wall. So everybody there, including the pastors or teachers, schools, and everybody were there. And nobody reported, even the Western media or Asian media, nobody reported. And the same day when supposedly the massacre was taking place, most of the media are talking about how the area is peaceful right now, or which machines came from which countries and so on. I saw so many news reports at the time from the foreign media and up to Japanese media. Nobody's reporting any massacres. So, but when China was claiming that the legal nation, they say 20,000 Chinese were killed at the time, and nobody listened to it because there was nobody is reporting, and nothing happened. But later on, they start increasing the number. Now they're saying 300,000 victims were killed by Japanese immediately. You know, if we have such a weapon, you know, for example, the atomic weapons that were United States dropped over us, that is killed like 70,000 or 80,000 or 100,000, not 300,000. So how can you kill the 300,000? So we're arguing even today, but they're using a kind of card to make Japan look down. And another thing is that a Taiwan issue. Now, most of the countries, even the nation of the United Nations, member nations, they say China is one China policy. But in fact, many of the Western countries are supporting Taiwan, and China is now frustrated by this. But this is a kind of way that both parties can make money, as you know. And another issue is that technology leakage. We are targeted, Japan is targeted to get the technology, not only the electrical things or mechanical things, but also biological things like medicine, pharmaceutical companies. Many of those Japanese are arrested in China because of the anti-spy law. But whatever they say, the person, if they arrested by anti-spy law, all the court cases will be hidden, not opened, and the sentence will be announced as they wish. So one of the guy who arrested and was in jail for 6 years returned to Japan, and partly I spoke with him, but partly brainwashed by the Chinese people, as the concentration camp in Xinjiang are experiencing. They are totally brainwashing, not only by force, but using candy and also the fruitful word. So they are very much manipulating the psychology of those people. And many other things we have to discuss, but now we're run out of the time. So if there is any questions related to our Chinese silent invasions in your countries or anything, please raise the hand and question, please. Is there anything? If nothing, then I will a little bit continue to the end of the. We have so many Chinese citizens in Japan, and they are not all of them. There are good peoples, but the majority of them are living like espionage. Anytime if the Chinese Communist Party give the order, then they can do. One example is when we had an Olympic game, a Winter Olympic game, I guess. So these people from China and Tibetan people are fighting each other on the ground of Japan. And most of those activists from China having a huge Chinese flag, which is like hundreds and hundreds of pieces, the same one. So who is going to provide these the flags? Chinese consulate there provided them, and trying to make a division within Japan. And Japanese police forces announced that we will not arrest anybody, even they do something against the law. So this is something going on in Japan, and we really don't understand who is bribed or manipulated or threatened by the Chinese authority. And then next one is environmental issue. They say, we had a disaster, earthquake and tsunami. And then we had a explosion of the nuclear power plant. And the Japanese government has been trying very hard to correct the wasted water or contaminated water. And they created the ALPS treatment machine to take out all the radioactive and now releasing to the sea. And now China and North Korea has been complaining, and some other countries too, in order to offend Japan. But when IAEA measured the contamination or treated water, China or Europe is much worse than what the Japanese is discharging. But this is the kind of propaganda that we are facing by Chinese people. And also they are using a lot of money for that. And if you see, maybe you know that even within the United Nations, many of Chinese so-called NGOs now working around, roaming around. Also some of the NGOs purchased by the Chinese authority or maybe other people, other Chinese groups. So this is what we have to pay attention. They are trying to make division. And then lastly, as the Emma Laley, who used to be a lawyer, legal advisor of the United Nations Human Rights Council. She testified that United Nations has been giving all the information coming to the United Nations to protest against China in advance, 2 weeks in advance or 3 weeks in advance. Then Chinese authority is threatening the family members who is in China. So this kind of thing is still going on. And if you see the expansion of the Chinese NGO in the United Nations, also the workers working in the United Nations seems to be increased. So we have to put eyes on those things too, to keep the United Nations safe place. Any questions that? Yes, please, go ahead.
I feel embarrassed to be the only one to raise a question or make a comment because I'm the disqualified person in this room. On top of that, I have very bad hearing, so I got less than half.
Yeah.
But still, I'm a journalist freelance, and from what I heard, it's still very interesting.
Yeah.
I could understand the threats and handlings of Chinese imperialism. But still, when comes the question what can be done, I have no ready to well answer, but I have some questions or some comments which could help the discussion. I was surprised on your program by the contrast between the first paragraph and the rest, because you refer to the plane.
Yeah.
It had a great thing. They say,
That was a dangerous thing there to when you are developing something, you feel danger.
yeah, but this, to me, either I find the text inconsistent or I find it, on the contrary, really to the point. Because past imperialism, the British imperialism, the French imperialism, the US imperialism, could they have succeeded without that promise that we are here not only because we are the strongest, we are here not only to subdue you, but we are delivering the ancestral dream of mankind. You wanted to fly since times immemorial, and we make you fly. So it may be just propaganda, but could American imperialism, British imperialism have existed without this true or false promise? And if we start asking that, then a lot of things about Chinese imperialism become more complex. First, is China always happy to go imperial? Do they have a choice? I remember that after the dismantling of Soviet Union, it was a great panic in China. They would see Xinjiang and Tibet and Yunnan independent. And they thought it happened to Russia, maybe we can help it happen to India, but it's not going to happen to us. So it's a question. I am not an expert in Asia, so I'm not going to lecture you on Chinese politics.
No.
Then, one of the signs of the Chinese disarray is that inland they have to be anti-Islamic, but outside they support Islam. And probably they are quite aware of that contradiction.
Yeah. That's a very good question. Yeah.
In Beijing.
Yep.
Then, when past imperialism reached the limit, they could no longer deliver, or others could, the subdues could do as well, they have collapsed. Indeed, what remains of the Spanish Empire, the language used by the enemy to blame them. What remains of Genghis Khan? Nothing, except some pictures. So, China knows that it cannot rule the world the same way as Genghis Khan.
Oh, yeah.
It knows that it can divide South Asia. That's the can. But how long? Until there is too much resentment. How long can they succeed until they have no more solvable clients? Because if you make the people poor, they can no longer buy your goods. How long America know that when you reach absolute victory, that's the time for in a dissent. And you have the youth demonstrating and throwing down government. Or you have the Soviet-style system where victory brings permanent blood struggle at the top. So all this is also part of the game. So what are the values? What can be the new airplane, the new myth, the new positive value for all, which can limit the let's say the pure use of force? This is the question I had in mind while listening to you. And although I am totally unqualified, I wanted to air my inner thoughts to tell you that I was quite interested, even if I got only part. But a lot of questions we should address. Yeah, basically that's it. We can discuss over dinner. That's what I had to say.
Thank you very much for your opinion, and it's going to be very helpful. Yes, the reason why I mentioned about the airplane is because we, in order to create a very safe vehicle, then so many people are struggle or they died on the way. But always people are trying to improve the situation, as we are doing here, because we cannot, give the blind eyes to these people. We have to help these people who are struggling right now because of the state power. So, always lights on the end of the tunnel. That's what we believe. Otherwise, we cannot keep on going with this stuff every year, right? So this is what I think.
Yeah, but this is also the sign of the weakness.
Weakness.
I try to
I understand.
Weakness of Chinese imperialism. If China and Russia, even if they succeed and rule the world, what do they have to offer? Their message is very limited.
Right.
For Putin, is we are the strong. We have a strong army. We are going to smash you. Okay. It doesn't really work, and there are also 10 million Ukrainians living in Russia who might be future dissenters, etc. China had a message: we make the Red Revolution and we are going to liberate the world. But they themselves do not believe in that message. So what is the message? It's very blurred.
Yeah.
Indeed, Chinese, I heard, maybe I'm mistaken, that the Chinese common man is much more racist than the government, and that a lot of killings are perpetrated not by the will of the government.
Yeah, that is because of the education.
Okay. So we live in a world where very few people, probably no one, has a message to, let's say, a global message to act together and be happy together. That's not without reason that jihadism has returned on the scene. There was so much lack of modern messaging that we had to go and get in the old drawers. Probably Moody's does the same. He said, oh, we have the Vedas, and one day the world will discover that it is true. We went to distant planets 6,000 years ago. I don't know. But there is a crisis in value, and I am not sure that it is so easy for new shallow imperialism to triumph with this complete vacuum. They triumph, and as soon as they triumph, it is a nightmare. The US discovered that very quickly. The hegemony of the US, undisputed, has not lasted very long.
Okay.
So these were spontaneous reactions.
I understand. Thank you very much. Dr. Alvana, is there any comments that you can tell?
Well, I think the answer is in his comments. So he has answered his question. I think the Chinese imperialism and expansionism will be more brutal, and it will result in the killing of innocent people. They will devastate the economies of those countries where it intends to, colonize those people. So you can see the project of CPEC in Pakistan. almost $43 billion have been spent. Not a single dollar in benefit for the Pakistani people. Not even the drinking water is not provided to the people where it passes. And the people are not even allowed to go to the areas where Chinese live. So I think it is the worst kind of imperialism, and its consequences will be really, really dangerous for the, not only for the
I understand, but can it last? Either they have to
It
kill
has already-
millions of people.
It has already lost. You can see it from the projects in the region.
Yeah.
It has already lost. Chinese cannot, because they are just getting. They invested in Sri Lanka. They got the port. They are investing in Pakistan. They will get the Gwadar. But the people are rising against it. People don't accept this colonialism. So it's already lost. There's no hope in that colonialism and expansion.
I would like to say one comment. I heard all the speakers, I like it, everything. But one of the person, like Joseph said, this is the pathway. You all have to follow this pathway. This is the mechanism how to approach the real challenges we all those people are facing in the world. You know, he knows the mechanism. Without mechanism, I don't think so we can achieve our goals and face the challenges. So thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you once again. And you know what? Something I saw and change on you.
Yeah.
The course you did, executive diplomacy. I see many flavors in you right now.
You changed a lot.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Honestly, you speak very different person like me. Thank you.
Is it pleasing? Is it
No,
pleasing?
it's optimistic comments. It's not.
Yeah. In fact,
Please, one thing
to our
that
dear
you
friend,
made,
to our dear friend, before, Doctor, you wanted to speak first?
Yeah, please go ahead.
You made very interesting comment. You said that the Chinese people are more racist than the government. Now the question is, what we call in psychology social engineering, develop the narratives. So basically, the people, that might be the case, that the narratives and the propaganda and the media, they use it very, very cleverly, and so that they have become racist. But because, as a government, as a state, they know that the world is looking at them. So the posture that they put themselves is a little, they're not that moderate, but it's still relatively moderate. But at the same time, they keep their people radicalizing. And this is the methodology, this is the strategy that all the occupying forces use. For example, I tell you, and that is happening even today. For example, that when there was war in Bangladesh against Pakistan, war of independence, the Pakistan created proxy organizations, Al-Shams, Al-Badr, Badr. And they were of the view that if we could kill Bengali people, we will directly go to the heaven. And they went to every village to spread this word. And this is happening today in Pakistan. And what they are happening, the Maran Baloch that Shul was talking about, she has been arrested. And there has been a protest by this Jamaat Islami, which are, sorry, they are the proxy killers. And they came outside and they say, Ra ki ladki, the girl of Ra. So it means it has become, say, tomorrow. For example, they are doing this operation. They are killing people in Pakistan. They are killing Baloch, they are killing Pashtun, they are killing Sindhis, they are killing Saraiki, they are killing Gilgitis. How they can justify this killing? They say, these are enemies of the state, these are enemies of, and therefore there are a lot of people who believe that this is right to kill the people. So it's really very important. The advantage that, say for example, that there's a huge Chinese population. And if they could radicalize that, the consequences of this will be beyond your wildest imagination. And because if they got not only the population advantage or population bomb, they've got economic might, they've got now they're developing, because at the end of the day it is military might as well. They are developing very, very rapidly. If you put these, and then it is the ideology, for example, human rights doesn't exist. Right? If you combine all these things, it is really a very, very disastrous mix. And until unless, because we sit here, we people, we talk about all of you, but things have to go much, much beyond that. Because what happened, there are countries and nations, every country is struggling with their own problems. Whatever rich or small or big country, they are struggling with their own problems. And they are on their own. They are not enough, they are not sufficient to deal with this crisis. I sometimes give an example that there was this journalist who wrote in 37, 38 in Germany that look, you people try to understand. This is Hitler. And he wrote in detail, the disaster that will bring you don't understand, please come together. Even he said within Germany and to the international community, they didn't listen to him, they didn't understand, they were engaged with many other things, and the humanity paid the price. So this is going to understand, and this is also it is really vision. Vision means people can see beyond time. So think about what is going to happen, and it's really very, very disastrous. Thank you.
So we have enough for 10 upcoming rounds.
Yeah, Joseph, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for that deep comment about China becoming the superpower. Indeed, they are on the way. Whether we like or not, they are already on the way. And they are paving their way through. They have their backup, and their backup is Russia. This is already a bloc, very strong bloc. We can only comment about it, but it's already a strong bloc. Well, at the UN, by the time this session ends, there will be voting of resolutions. When you follow the voting process, China and Russia are always on one block.
Yeah, and getting more.
Yes, they are always on one block.
Yeah,
either they are
more
accepting or they are rejecting. Now, the same China and Russia have discovered that the best way to get the people is to produce cheap goods which are available at the poorest to the poorest person. And are using this to conquer the world. If you come to Africa and you say an ordinary African man from a rural area should choose between China and Switzerland, they will choose China. Because they're able to have smartphones at a very affordable price, though they don't last, but they have it.
Yeah, at least, yes.
Yes, and then the second thing is, they are coming to Africa, which Africa is, of course, the breadbasket of the world. And they are also already going to South Asia. They think that they can deal with India, they can subdue India, they can scatter India into pieces to have their way to South Asia easily. And in East Asia, right? Yes. They are also picking up some countries and implanting themselves in those countries. This is the international geopolitics that they are playing. And they are using only economic approach. Their economic approach is digging the world and suspending the world to a level where at a certain point the world will simply collapse and will emerge. That's how they are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One group, sorry, if you don't mind. All to come.
Yeah.
Brother?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for visiting, and thank you for very good ideas and speakers. We appreciate it. And lastly, I want Rizwana to talk, if anything that you want to mention.
Thank you. When I hear all these stories, like, I think it's Turkestan. I mean, we used to be also free country. We used to be like these countries, you know, and China didn't come like Russia came to Ukraine with tanks and guns. They didn't come like this. They came to help us to build city.
Yeah.
Like they do in Africa, exactly the same. With water, they wanted help us build the fabrics and this, and the first take up 20,000 Chinese military to build with their families. And now we are the second-class human in our home country. I'm just saying warning, like I'm telling this since 20 years. People, be careful, China is shit, China is devil, and no one believed me. And now like everyone has this problem, it's gonna start slowly like this. And what hurts my heart is like, when Russia did this to Ukraine, all the world we made sanctions. Everywhere when you went, you know, the Russian ruble was zero.
Right.
Zero value, you couldn't buy it. It was nothing worse. Everyone hated Russians. Oligarchy was like no one else. But why don't we do this China? It's the same. Why don't we have sanctions? Why we have to, I'm sorry for my word, lick their balls? Why? Why are we prostituting ourselves for Chinese money? Because it's going to happen in Africa. I know because I saw these videos from African children. I was crying because it was the same with Uyghurs. These poor children, everyone were beaten from Chinese, Han-Chinese, and they had to talk Chinese. They had to learn karate and this everything Chinese. It's okay if you learn this as hobby. It's okay if you learn Chinese medicine is good. Chinese food is good, but if it's your hobby, not forced, right?
Karate is Japanese, so
Oh,
please
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. But anyway, their way of martial arts. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think like they're taking everything slowly, step by step, and we are giving them because they are not doing actual war.
Right.
That's why they're profiting. And the worst thing is like I lived in China, right? In East Turkestan, so I know how Chinese are. I'm sorry, not everyone is like this, but most of them, like 20, 30 years ago, they were dirty. They were like not like civilized folk. I'm sorry to say that, but they don't have hygiene. They can live like 10 people can live in 10 square meter, and they can live for years. They just have to, you know, some food, some water. It doesn't matter anything else. No dignity, no humanity, no hygiene, nothing else. So I'm so sad to hear all these stories, and I'm afraid this happens also all these countries slowly, step by step. That's what I'm sad, and I hope it's not that happen.
Thank you very much, Rubiabi. And really, we got so many new informations and very different ideas from you too. Thank you very much. And we need to work together for the future and the better future. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
And I announce
We're going to take a phone.
dinner 7 o'clock and 4:30.
Yes, we're going to invite you. We're going to invite you to a dinner from 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Come here, sir, for the group food.
We're going to take everybody comes. Everybody, please. Thank you very much. Yep.
There be whiskey?
No.
What do you say?
It's not good for health.
Yeah, bad for health. Okay, just get a water. You're fasting, right? But fasting doesn't mean. You know. ありがとうございます。また後ほどありがとうございました。はい。